So I just wanted to record this because why not? I got the EvoLife demo a while ago and eventually came upon this world that I am calling Feast River for potentially obvious reasons. Currently, there are only two actual life forms in this river, both of them predatory. I have here what I'm calling the purples, a predatory species that actually used to live down here, I think. I have no idea how they got up here, but at some point they got up here and started clinging to this floating piece of coral here that usually circles around and rotates, but at some point I guess it stopped and they just kind of fell into this larger chunk of coral or something. And then all the way over here at the very end of the river where I have water output, which is why there's so much water suction here, is what I'm calling the greens, which are essentially just a horde of meat eaters feeding off the corpses of all these other failed attempts at cells. I have various other chambers that all feed into the river. This chamber here is actually completely artificial, as well as this pathway here. Both of these sections were completely cut off from the rest of the river, so I eventually added to them to extend them. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it was specifically these guys that evolved in here independently on their own and then somehow climbed out, or if this is just a new species that was born and killed off this group by consuming their regular flow of food. I'm not sure, but yeah, I have tried various things, such as this little rock outcropping, including various whirlpools, flowing waters, all sorts of different things to try and get any kind of gas eater to spawn here. But so far, nothing has worked. Any kind of cell that just spawns in just immediately dies. Every so often, I'll get an independent spawning of meat eating cells, typically right around here in this spasming corpse cluster being blocked off by this little bit of coral, or maybe a little bit down here, or sometimes some of these guys will fall down here and just explode down here. But they typically don't last too long, so it's really just been these two populations this entire time. One thing I found that is pretty interesting that I'd like to show is that if I save the world real quick, these guys are somehow, despite living in like much more barren environments, are much somehow like able to outcompete these guys. Like if I were to remove this fluid wall, which is cutting off this large section from the rest of the river, you'd see that the purples would get sucked downriver, and eventually they would end up alongside the greens, as well as this massive pit here. And if we just speed through, eventually this whole section, I think, almost 9 times out of 10, gets completely overflown with purples. Maybe not now. Yeah, I might need to wait for more purples to show up, but like you saw that it somehow doing that completely killed off the greens, more or less. Like at some point, I'm pretty sure these guys are gonna escape and get out of and manage to get down here. I'm not sure. They've done it before, at least. And maybe not this time. I guess this is just the one time it didn't happen. I did add some water sources here, so maybe that changed it. I don't know. At some point, these guys might... Oh, there goes one. These guys might get ejected and eventually find their way down there. I'll give it a little bit longer just to see. Okay, yeah, you can see them just falling in here now. And eventually, look at that, they just completely wiped out the greens. Like, somehow the purples are able to eat the greens, while the greens are not able to eat the purples. So, yeah, that's pretty interesting. That does unfortunately completely remove this whole section as a viable uh, living space, though, because it was basically relying on that water wall to not be sucked out into the end of the river. I also have a secondary save that was just kind of an experiment where I did that. I removed the water wall here. The purples got sucked out. They annihilated the greens. And these are not the purples. I don't know where these guys came from, but at some point they just kind of showed up and annihilated the purples. And these are just the like pre-made gas eaters I included. I was able, yeah, like at the game comes with two types of cells you can introduce: cell, a gas eater, and a dead eater. I just introduced some gas eaters like around here or something. They got sucked down, eventually started forming this stable production line in these rocks and this whirlpool, and they started feeding in the blues. And in this world, I was actually able to turn off spawn new species. But in the main world, if I turn that off for any amount of time, just everyone dies because both of these species rely on incoming food. And without it, they're just going to completely die off, and this entire place just goes completely extinct. So, yeah, I have not yet found a single group that is able to survive here, or at least I've not had a single group of gas eaters naturally spawn. I can introduce gas eaters, but it just feels a little bit wrong to me. So, yeah, I don't know. I really liked how, for a while at least, these guys survived by essentially just clinging on to this bit of coral that was rotating around in circles. I guess it got too clogged up and has now stopped. Might be too heavy for that now. But yeah, these guys have been kicking for a while. Every so often, one of them will fall down here, eat all this massive population spike, and then immediately die off again. So far, none of them have managed to make it past this water barrier and into the river. I think that would be very interesting to see. Like, some of them will get close right now, but because there's no water movement inside this barrier, they just kind of stop moving. Nothing, they don't have the strength to push through. I do think it would be nice to like have one of them come in through here and then like go all the way down the river and overpopulate these guys naturally. But yeah, every so often I'll add in a new whirlpool or some water sources or something like that just to try and change something, try and add some kind of evolutionary pressure to get something to change. But it has just been these two populations and 1,000 unsuccessful species that do nothing for a long time now. Just for fun, we'll take a look at their genes. I can't read this. This is a bunch of gibberish to me. I don't know what any of this means. But these guys have siphon eating. That is about it. I don't know what any of this means. And for the greens, we got this. Whatever this means. Yeah, I don't know. This is all Greek to me. This is just math. This is just numbers. I don't understand this. Yeah, I thought that was pretty neat. I liked what I got with my generation here, Feast River. The first thing I did when I make this was put a water sink down here in this corner here, and things have just been piling up ever since. And these guys, and I think one or two species before them, just dogpiled on this place and have been thriving ever since, as these guys are just kind of barely scraping by. And everyone else kind of just doesn't make it. Again, sometimes we got a species here, sometimes I get a species here. They don't last too long. And yeah, I'm gonna try and leave this running overnight again, see if that can get any kind of evolutionary jumpstart going, but I doubt it. I do like that in this one section, all this coral piled up, blocking this one tiny exit. I just think that's neat. Kind of looks like the same thing is generally gonna happen here. I think it did happen here at one point, but I cleared it out. Probably gonna happen here as well. So that might lead to something interesting. That'll lead to some potential evolutionary pressure. These guys might go extinct from that. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, that's my EvoLife world so far. See ya.